Thompson now waiting, left side, good pump fake, dribble drive by Clay, dishes out to DiVincenzo, catch and shoot three, yes! Warriors 102, Minnesota 99. Off the screen, bounce pass to Looney at the elbow. Looney turns, hands it back to Clay, takes it off balance, three, it's nothing but net! Largest lead of the night for the Warriors is right now. Golden State 105, Minnesota 99.
It's a hell of a comeback for the Golden State Warriors as they win their second game on its 5-game homestand and improve to 2-0 on the 5-game homestand. 24-7 overall at Chase Center. They rallied against the T-Wolves. They were down 14 in the first quarter. They were down 10 midway through the fourth quarter, 94-84. Clay makes that ridiculous corner bank shot. Bully said it was heavy metal. He hit the side of the backboard, but he goes in, and the Warriors go ahead and run away with it against the T-Wolves. Klay Thompson with the game-high 32. Donte DiVincenzo was special as well, 21, 8, and 5. He's been playing some really good basketball. Looney down in the paint, grabbing 17 rebounds. And here to talk about last night and something that happened 10 years ago today, the great Tim Roye, the official voice of the Golden State Warriors here on 95.7 The Game. What's up, Tim? Good morning.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
We're good. A lot better than Friday. After that Thursday game against the Lakers. We're a little down in the dumps, Tim. We're a little down in the dumps, especially with all the injuries, but 2 wins. You feel good against the Rockets. You come back against Minnesota without Wiggins, Draymond, and, of course, Steph and Curry. And all of a sudden, we're feeling better, and we're feeling really good because Klay seems to be locked in, playing some of the best basketball he's ever played on the offensive end on the floor.
Yeah, he's really had a great run, and you're so right about how, just buckle up. It's going to be a seesaw the rest of the way. You're going to be feeling great one day, feeling lousy the next day. It's just one of those, that's so tightly packed. I mean, with the Clippers losing and the Warriors winning, and all of a sudden now the Warriors are they're right on the verge of 6, where after the Laker game you're thinking, oh man, this is going to be really, and so you think, oh, there's no chance. But now, there's, all kinds of possibilities but they have to really take care of business on this homestand. They really have to do well on this homestand to have a shot here. And I really liked the grip we saw last night. It reminded me of the winning streak they had earlier this year on the homestand, but they just battled. And, Minnesota was hitting shots. Naz Reid had a great night, and hats off to him. He was fantastic last night. And you just had this feeling the Warriors just kept battling back in this game. They never let it get too far ahead. And so they did a nice job collectively, I thought.
Tim, you've seen all of the games, all the highs, all the lows, everything in between for Klay Thompson. He maybe has had better stretches in general, but given who's out, given where they are in the standings and how they need all of these games, is this the most you've seen him carry the Warriors offensively for this long of a stretch?
You probably could go back numerically and find a stretch where maybe he had this kind of a run, earlier in his career, maybe not as dramatic as, a couple of 12, 3-point nights, but I think in context, when you look at the fact that Steph's out, yes, and then last night Draymond's out and Wiggins is out, and in context, no, I don't think we've ever seen a stretch like this.
No, and
go
ahead. I thought you cut out for a second, Tim. Go ahead, finish.
Yeah, if he steps up, and he stepped up, and it really just, despite the fact that he's either the first option the other team's trying to take away or the second option, you can sit and argue. He's on their radar, and the fact that he's been able to do that in this kind of a stretch, in a situation where the team needs him each and every possession almost, it's been really fantastic to watch.
Tim Roye here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game, calls every single Warrior game, of course, here on 95.7 The Game. The great voice, Tim Roye, and you look at Klay Thompson, he's going to get all the headlines. Steph's going to get all the headlines. JP, Jordan Poole's going to get headlines. 2 guys who don't get a lot of headlines, and they should. Kevon Looney and Donte DiVincenzo. Let's start with DiVincenzo because his last 32 games, Tim, and you would know this, shooting 44% from 3. And I felt like that road trip when they went to Milwaukee, Indiana, Philly, and his father was traveling with Donte DiVincenzo, checked out a couple games. That's when he started to turn the corner. And what he's done for this team, I mean, he's got the player option next year. He may get paid next season, but Dante DiVincenzo just fits what the Warriors need. Ball handling, defending, threes, going to the bucket. What a godsend he's been for the Golden State Warriors, especially since the calendar flipped to 2023.
Yeah, really happy for him because, the injuries that he suffered, going back to Milwaukee, just, never let him be the kind of player he could be. And so for him to come out and to have this kind of a season, really happy for him. He plays the right way. He plays to win. And you can tell he doesn't play for stats. He could be averaging more points a game easily, but he plays to win, and he's tough. I love how he gets right up into the defender. Occasionally he gets a cheap foul that way, but you know what? He makes people uncomfortable, much like what Gary Payton II did last year. He makes people uncomfortable on the floor. They don't get into their normal rhythm because they know every time they turn and face, when they get into triple threat, there is Dante right up in their grill. And that really pays off defensively. I'm really happy for him. He's a good guy. And like I said, he's your team because he plays to win the game.
Yeah.
I did a little Herm Edwards there. Hey, how about that?
No, he's just a winner. And like I was telling Bonte this morning, like just so many little things that aren't going to show up in the stat sheets where he creates a play that sets up the turnover or, sets a screen that opens up a backdoor cut for somebody to get a layup or slows the tempo down so they get a good possession after they have gone scoreless for a couple of minutes. Like he's just a really, really, really good player, and I enjoy watching him. On the other end of the spectrum, Jordan Poole's been up and down all year. What's the biggest thing that he needs to clean up right now to help this team with Steph being out, Wiggins out, and Draymond out?
Really quickly, though, we didn't get to Kevon there for a second. So let me just say that, Kevon Looney's having a career year. Again, another guy that just plays the game the right way. And if there's a better position rebounder in the league, and when I say it that way, what I mean is a guy who gets to the right spot, he knows where the ball's going to end up, and gets the rebound. I haven't seen one this year. He's really that good, and he's been fantastic on the glass. But Jordan's been a little up and down, and I think for him it's kind of I want to say it's kind of a sophomore thing because last year was his breakout year, and he had a great season. But still, you have to face facts when they're healthy. Curry's getting talked about at shoot-arounds and meetings. Klay Thompson's getting talked about. Wiggins is getting talked about in meetings. And now Poole he's the center focus because of all these injuries. So I think it's kind of a natural progression. And I think now, he has to go back and look at that and say, okay, I've got to get better. I've got to get better at this and that. Maybe, for Poole, it might be I've got to not let the game get into my head so much so I'm going a little bit out of – because when he's under control and accelerates, that's when he's really special. And so I think he's going to be fine. And I keep reminding myself that because we're getting players in the league so early now, that he's only 23, right? Yeah. So he should be about a year out of college or a year and a half out of college at this point. So he's got a long way to go before he gets to his prime, and so I think we're just seeing sort of a natural progression, this year, and I think he'll be fine in the long term.
Yeah, no, Tim, you make great points. The over-dribbling, the shot selection, getting lost on defense. And I was saying this earlier on the show to Joe here. It's got to be difficult for a guy who's just in his fourth year, and really the second year where he's been in the spotlight as the Warriors have gotten back into championship contention, to where you don't know what your role is every single game. One day he's facilitating, right? He's a point guard. One day just go score. One day you're playing with different combinations. I just think that's got to be tough, especially for a young player, to not know exactly what your role is on a game-by-game basis.
Right, and there's also the little, there's one thing, it's one thing to score when you can score, it's one thing to score when you need to score. And that's a little bit more of a pressure-packed situation. That's the situation he's facing night in, night out, right now. And Klay Thompson has kind of stepped into that breach and helped the Warriors in the last couple of weeks. And so, again, it's different when you're automatically the number one guy or number two guy every night out. There's a little difference, when you slide up a little bit on the pecking order. And so I think it's kind of natural what we're seeing right now. I just think, over time, I think he's a smart kid and he is a worker. That's why he, went from being a player that not a lot of people thought a lot about during the draft to being the player he is today, because he gets in the gym and he works. And so I think he'll look in the mirror, when he has time in the off season to look at, and take a deep dive into his game. And I think he'll do the things that he needs to do to get better.
10 years ago today, Tim, Steph drops 50 plus at Madison Square Garden, and it felt like one of those I've arrived moments. Take us back to that night. What do you remember?
I remember, first of all, the night before, with about 90 seconds left in the game, where he got tangled up with Roye Hibbert in Indiana.
Right.
And David Lee came to his aid, and Steph was right in the middle of that. And it was Lee who got suspended. This night maybe never happened if Steph gets suspended for that New York game. And so they come in without David Lee, and the Warriors were just starting to really get people's attention. And this was the beginning of the climb. Mark Jackson committee installed some confidence into this group, and they had added guys, veterans like Carl Landry, Jarrett Jack. This team was really a lot of fun to be around because it was exciting. And here comes Steph, and he had and again, going back to context, let's go back to 2009. Early in the season, the Warriors go to New York. The New York fans thought they were getting Curry on draft night. They were sure. They thought.
I remember that.
Fall to New York. They're all excited. And so all these articles are written coming in 2009 in November, and the Warriors coming to town, and what does Nelly do? He plays in 2 minutes at the beginning of the game.
Tim,
that's so Nelly.
Wasn't Nelly trying to dupe everyone into thinking they were taking like Jordan Hill, some other big man that they had no interest in getting?
Oh. We don't have
that was a terrible question, and he said, "No,
hung up on
I'm
you.
ejecting."
Now I know Nelly. With Tim Hardaway Sr. Tim Hardaway Sr. entered the draft, and Nelly told everybody, "Oh man, his knee is done. His knee is wrecked." And Tim Hardaway Sr. Slipped in the draft, and Nelly drafted him. Tim Hardaway Sr. is like, "Oh, you cost me some money, Nelly," but all the other players like, "I thought his knee was wrecked."
I thought it was a kid from Arizona, some
Jordan
big
Hill.
Was it? That's right. Yeah.
Well, they dined him in Oakland. Jordan Hill,
but they had
true
no
story.
interest in him.
I don't want Tim Roye to speak on this,
yes,
but
I want to hear this.
I heard the story about Jordan Hill when he came to visit the Warriors facility, and he was basically talking about the nightlife in Oakland. It's like, oh man, what is there to do in Oakland? Blah blah blah. And the Warriors kind of was like, yeah, we're not going to take this guy.
Tim, you
Tim's
there?
back. Is Tim back?
Yep,
all right, there he is.
Instead of Steph, weren't they like fake courting Jordan Hill?
Well, there was an idea that there was maybe a trade going on where they would draft Steph, trade him to Phoenix for Jordan
Amari.
Hill and Amari Stoudemire. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
But that never really happened. But so anyway, Steph goes off in New York in the second quarter, has 23 points, has this great second half, and it just put him on the map, put the Warriors and Steph Curry on the map, and it was a tremendous night. And from that moment on, the Warriors started to become the Warriors, at least on a national scale. We knew they were pretty good at that point. We knew they were on the ascension, maybe not to championship level, but we knew that this group had something going on. And so, but when Steph went off like that, it got everybody's attention league-wide.
Tim, if Steph never takes another dribble, all right, just hypothetically here, all right, where would you have him all time? Just on your list, you're very fair on these kinds of things.
Well, it's funny. I think he has to be up with the greats of the greats because the greatest players of all time. Because look at the way the game's played today. Played this way in a big way because Steph Curry. Because Steph Curry and Klay Thompson got out there and showed people that the 3-point shot wasn't just something you drafted or found a Kyle Korver for. It's something that you could do, in a big time way and just really take other teams right off the floor. And so he changed the way the game is played. And when you get a player like that, who not only has been a 2-time MVP, a Finals MVP, multiple All-Star, and the greatest shooter that this game has ever seen and may ever see, he's changed the game. He has to be in that conversation just because of that and because of what he's done for basketball, the impact he has. And I say this all the time, and I know you guys don't want to bore you guys with this, but when I'm on the road, the older, the parents or the older brother comes in with their sister, comes in with, the hometown team stuff. The little kids, they come in with Curry jerseys.
Yep.
He's like a Pied Piper of basketball, and so he has to be, in that conversation with the greats of the great.
No doubt about that. And by the way, Tim, it's been a hell of a 10-year run since that moment at Madison Square Garden. 4 championships, as you mentioned, 2 MVPs, a Finals MVP, an All-Star MVP, and they're not done yet. Steph's not done, and this Golden State Warriors team is not done. But we want to congratulate you. We haven't done it on this show yet, but California's Sportscaster of the Year.
Oh, yeah.
You were named that January 10th, the National Sports Media Association. So personally, from Joe and I, we would like to congratulate you on that. That's long overdue. You've been one of our favorites for many, many years, but congratulations for getting your due, Tim.
It's really incredibly humbling when you look at the names on the list who have won before, and the fact that the last time a sitting Warriors announcer won this award was Bill King.
Wow.
And so I'm just unbelievably blown away by this. It's been incredible. I had no idea. I didn't take the call initially because they're based in North Carolina. I said, I don't know anybody in this. so I didn't take the call initially. It was kind of weird. But hey, last little story on the Steph 100, 54.9. So being the wise ass and the historian of the group, the next day was an optional practice. So there was a bus leaving the hotel going right to the airport. I'm on that bus. Steph comes on that bus. And I couldn't resist. And I walked back and I said, hey, it was a real honor last night to broadcast your game. And I said, but just so you know, you're still 46 points off the club record. So
wow.
What did he say?
He laughed. He chuckled. He got it right away. He has that thing, and he understood that I was just teasing him. But yeah, just think about that. He had 54 points, and he's still 46 off the club record.
I know, that's insane. Wilt's got all the numbers. It's like it's Wilt and then everything else. Every record starts with Wilt or Jordan, and now LeBron James. By the way, speaking of 100 points, Dave Lillard coming down to Oakland or coming down to the Bay Area tomorrow in San Francisco, coming off a 71-point night.
Unbelievable. It's a crazy year scoring-wise in the association. Everybody's scoring. It's crazy.
No
defense
doubt.
Optional.
Yeah, defense optional. It's about getting buckets these days, Tim. And, hey, you've been great to us, man. Keep calling those great games. We love listening to you. And we're very fortunate in the Bay Area to have you call the Warriors games. We'll see you tomorrow night at Chase Center when the Warriors try to win their 3rd straight game and move 2 games over 500 against the Blazers.
Unbelievable. It's going to be a great finish, I think.
No doubt about it. Tim Roye here on the Morning Rush on 95.7 The Game. 3 more games on this 5-game homestand. 888-957-9570.